What a save!
Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Ori and the Blind Forest All Skills Tournament. We are here with the second of a ludicrous number of matches today, and we've got coming for you from the near division, number 9, Trojandude12 versus number 25, LostDedew. Bringing you the match right now, my name is Vol'jin, and in case you were tired of our friend Covert Muffin, I'm sorry.
That's right, Vol'jin. And my oven is preheated for this match. Things have the potential to get hot and spicy between these two runners. And looking at the bracket, we see this is the round of 32 match, and this is the upper bracket match. So if one of our runners ends up losing, which I hope is the case in a 1 versus 1 match, they are not eliminated from the tournament. Instead, they will get bumped down to the lower bracket.
That's right, and they'll end up going against the winner of either Cheese Lover, Hunter's Pixel, or Steinman, and we'll be seeing that match between Steinman and Pixel later. But for now, what we've got is Trojan and Dedew, and these two runners are incredibly evenly matched. Muffin, their PBs are 5 seconds apart.
Wow, that's pretty insane. And Dedew actually closing out that 31-22 just the other day, which is really impressive to see. But Trojan, with a 31-17, has the quote-unquote PB advantage here. But just showcasing off how insanely good these times are. This is only a couple of minutes outside of world records, so we expect some really intense action and really difficult optimized movement from both players.
That's for sure. And if you look at that radar graph in the bottom left, you do see that Trojandude's graph is a little bit stronger than Dedew's, and that largely owes to his incredible level of consistency, both at executing those specific tricks that pop up through the run, the fast stompless, the grotto skip, so on and so forth, and also at just playing the game at the same speed every single time. I would be really surprised if we don't see Trojandude put up a 31 of some sort today. So it's really going to be up to Dedew to just keep up with him. So far, Dedew's best race time was 32, which was actually his PB at that time. But as we get started, we'll see whether, you know, some of his minor advantages, like having better early gameplay than Trojan or taking 5 HP, might allow him to eke this one out.
Yeah, for sure, Vula. And so we definitely expect Trojan to be able to close out like a sub 32 in this race, whereas Dedew just breaking that sub 32 wall the other day and doing it in a very spectacular fashion, mind you, like destroying it by 38 seconds for that PB. But we're definitely going to need to see if Dedew can step up to the plate here in all parts of the game to be able to keep up with Trojandude's insane consistency in the later portions of the run.
Well, he already managed to pull off a very slight advantage as we're going here with a slightly faster prologue skip. Not really going to make a significant difference, but it's just one of those things that you like to get started on the wrong foot. Of course, Trojan, he is a very even keel runner, so even messing up prologue skip is just not going to matter to him. He will be totally fine with his mental game. But we are coming in now to sign, and we'll see a slight difference in how these two runners approach their fights here.
Yeah, and here we go. It looks like both of them are going to be attempting to take down these Frankies as quickly as possible, each one with 5 health, and they're going to try and pack in that damage as quickly as possible. So Dedew getting there just slightly ahead and pacing through the shots. Trojandude is, excuse me. But Dedew, with a slightly cleaner fight, is going to be able to get out of there a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's right. The controller mashing for Dedew is really pretty impressive. He is almost entirely a controller player. There are a few places where he will make use of keyboard. Trojan, on the other hand, is a keyboard and mouse player, but does not make use of the scroll wheel shooting technique. So it's actually going to mean that there's no significant advantage for him in, you know, attacking enemies. So that will really not make much of a difference on fights like the Ginso mini boss, but we'll see. Maybe Dedew's mashing's better. Maybe Trojan gets better reads on the mini boss or something like that. Who knows? But for now, we're on this segment of the game, and both of these runners are taking their damage to set up their ghost doors.
Yeah, and both runners with health drops here from the slimes. Dedew is able to dodge it, but Trojan ends up picking it up. So Dedew now is on 1 health, is going to be able to get through this section a little bit quicker because he's going to die instantaneously to be able to get through that door quicker.
Yeah, this won't be too surprising if Dedew takes a little bit of a lead in this early game. This segment for Trojan, not one he enjoys practicing a whole lot, and he, like, in his PB even, he has kind of what, you know, most runners of the 31 would consider a slow wall jump time, but it really doesn't matter because his later game execution is so strong and so consistent that he's able to overcome that. So, you know, more power to him. He can play basically as, you know, kind of mediocrely as he wants at this point in the game, and he'll still be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I love Trojan's mentality when he approaches speedrunning, where he just does, like, no resets, right? And, like, literally, like, oftentimes if I say, yeah, this is going to be no reset run, I reset, like, 10 minutes into it after I get nerd rage, right? But Trojan says, no, that's fine that I make this mistake. Like, I know how relative that doesn't affect the rest of my performance. And he just has, like, a will of iron and is able to continue to push through. And it looks like Dedew is going to be approaching wall jump at quite a nice pace. And and it looks like Trojandude's best wall jump is a little bit more than 325. And look at that, the 325 from Trojandude. So on a good heckin' pace.
Yeah, that's still not a bad wall jump time by any stretch of the imagination, and able to keep pace very well with Dedew. So not falling behind to any significant extent. And not that we really expected a major difference, just a couple seconds, which is what we're seeing here. Dedew is taking his level up on the way out of wall jump and collecting some of that XP from those brambles. Trojan took it on the way in. This is a minor difference at best, but it might make a slight difference in how they want to approach their XP as they go into Blackroot Burrows. Neither of these runners will be performing the slime genocide routes. They'll both be doing more traditional strats with the 100 XP orb.
Interesting, and that EXP can be very, very important, because if you have to take a little bit of extra experience, or in the case that you always want to avoid, having to not kill a slime because you don't want the experience, which can cause for really, really difficult sections in Blackroot Burrows. Nice little safety save from Dedew and Trojandude12. That's nice. It's not required, but they take an intentional level up in Blackroot Burrows, which refills their energy. So that doesn't lose any time, and it guarantees a bit of safety if they make a small hiccup for whatever reason before this section.
Yeah, it's easy to forget at this stage of the game that you just have that one energy to be able to fiddle around with. Actually, two energy to fiddle around with. But you don't need it for any skips or anything in particular. You can throw down another safety save in Blackroot Burrows, which is really nice, but you still have one energy free to do that one. Dedew and Trojan both skipping their cutscenes very cleanly, so no major issues so far. Not that we'd really expect any. Both runners are pretty consistent. You have to be able to get to the 31 range, but in particular, just it's not very, very likely that you take a major early death in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. And Blackroot Burrows is one of the earlier scary sections where it can be very easy to make one of those mistakes and take an early death. But both runners having clean movement. Dedew, nicely done, getting up to the 100 EXP orb with some clean jumps and see if Trojan can match pace. He does. So this is what we're looking for from Trojandude12. It's just not necessarily getting an early lead, but staying enough close behind and then letting his really strong mid game and then the consistency in the late game to really punch him forward into that first place position.
Yeah, that's for sure. And he may take another slight few seconds of time loss. He is okay there. He just took a little bit of damage from some spikes. But Dedew did a save and reload to manipulate these platforms, and Trojan did not. So you see, Dedew is able to get a few extra seconds there as the platforms show up for Dedew, but not for Trojan immediately. And that's just one of those very slight differences. Again, this section of the game, not one that Trojan really enjoys practicing a whole lot. The late game, he finds a lot more fun. The movement in Misty, using Bash, things like that. So BRB and wall jump, he kind of says, I have a baseline level of talent that I've got here. I'm happy with that so far. I'm not losing huge amounts of time, maybe a couple seconds, but whatever. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's... Oh, this is really clever, Muffin. He's using a save and reload to reset the cycle here that he missed. I've actually not seen anyone do that before.
That's really ingenious, because there the platform was starting to move upwards after he missed it, but with that save and reload, it actually started to move downwards. I'm not sure if that ends up saving too much time, but it might save like a second there from that 8-second time loss from missing the cycle. So really nicely done from Trojandude12 to adapt. And he didn't use that energy that Dedew used to manipulate the platform cycle, so he can just set up the quick save anywhere right here. Wow, nice. Interesting.
Yep. here we go as Dedew is picking up the dash tree. So able to open up a little bit more of an advantage over Trojan right now. Coming in under 720 on dash, which is about 8 seconds faster than his previous best race time. And Trojan, meanwhile, will be reaching dash at about 7:32, which is still faster than his tournament average. So both runners showing some improvement over their previous numbers, but Dedew is still maintaining that lead early on, and we'll see how long that continues. A lot of race left to go.
Yeah, for sure. And so upcoming here, they're going to be coming up to the next trick, Frankie Walk. They should be able to get through this trick really easily. But in the next upcoming section, in Death Gauntlet, it can be easy to tap a minor slip-up of slight fallacy in that wall jump movement could cause a death, and then they have to end up doing this entire trick over again. So be interesting to see if they're able to get through Death Gauntlet, but this could cause a major swing of power going into this mid-game sector.
That's for sure. I really like this movement of this Frankie for Dedew. He managed to get one fewer hop of the Frankie, which saves about 2 seconds. So just a very little thing that I believe Trojan's Frankie position is not able to achieve that. So, you know, just little bits of time that Dedew is able to save. He had a few seconds on wall jump. Oh, God. Okay. Little bit of a fun time with Death Glide. That's going to actually throw away some of those seconds. So Trojan now is really closing in on him, and we'll see whether he does not bother with Death Glide. So he will also not be able to save that time that Dedew was looking to save, but still managed to catch up just a little bit there.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. And the next upcoming trick is another 8-second swing. If Dedew is able to get in here and Trojan Dude isn't, or vice versa, that could cause a differential in the delta. And Grotto Cycle chance for Dedew is at 0% before. He gets one frame before!
That is the worst possible outcome there. Trojan now is in the lead, and he's going for his, but he also doesn't get it. And Dedew has a second shot at it. He's going for it again, and he sets up the dashes properly. He gets in this time, so he's tied again.
Wow, unbelievable. That was huge for Dedew, though. Like, I can't believe he went for that again. If I got one frame, I would just be like, nope, not doing it. But being able to show just sort of what metal Dedew is coming into this margin. Look at that. He's back in the lead, Vua.
That's just hilarious. It's such an unfortunate thing to get that one frame death. It really is one frame exactly where you can wedge yourself into the spot where the crushers actually kill you. But it certainly is a lot closer than it was before. This is 2 or 3 seconds tops, and Trojan is just bearing down. Now, the thing about this race, as always, we want to talk about, you know, whether the runners are watching each other. Dedew is watching Trojan. He said in the past with his other races, it has helped him a little bit to know where his progression was. Trojan is not watching his opponent. He never does. He always just focuses on his own game and plays at his own pace. So, you know, that can be both good and bad for Trojan. In some cases, it means you can't quite make up for certain, you know, mistakes or you know, make changes when you need to. Meanwhile, Grotto Skip can potentially be an equalizer here, especially because of that. Wow.
Yeah, Dedew just struggling a little bit to be able to get up there in that really precise skip, and so Trojan's going to be able to take the lead here coming into this next bit of movement, and Trojan Dude is no stranger to this movement, and so he's just absolutely slaughtering the rest of it and doing a really nice job being able to work through these sections quickly.
Yeah, and this is where, you know, Trojan's immediately saying, like, all right, I'm going to, you know, take the reins for a little bit, and you're going to have to keep up with me as I've been keeping up with you. But again, of course, Trojan has no idea that he is setting but this is still a very good pace that he is setting. They're both coming to the water vein just about 11 minutes, which is really solid time for both. And they'll certainly be pretty happy with that as we come into some of the more, you know, movement-intensive sections of the run, Muffin.
Yeah, for sure. Like, a lot of these walls can be really tricky to move around, and a lot of jumps need to be specifically placed in order to get the correct spacing to be able to finish out the overall jump. If you miss one of these jumps, it can cost a few seconds because you have to reset yourself up, get reacclimated, and be able to make it through.
Muffin, did you just see Dedew get that little micro ledge there and start running into the wall?
Yeah. Like, this is exactly what we're talking about. A lot of these walls aren't flat. They can just have really weird nooks and crannies that you can just get stuck in, and Dedew got stuck in a little micro ledge. But being able to work out of it, not too much of a time loss. But yeah, slightly opening up Trojan Dude's lead coming into the Ginso tree entrance.
Yeah, Trojan is a really scary player to go against if you are behind in the race. If you're ahead, you know, you can maybe think, okay, I have the lead. I have an opportunity to say, I'm just going to keep playing at a solid pace. Dedew having some problems with this rock. He's getting stuck here, but he manages to get out. But if you're behind Trojan, you know that he's just going to keep chugging along and not really make major mistakes. So then you have to start, you know, he's going to get in your head a little bit. Dedew, wow, is if he had taken a damage from that spinner, that slime would have killed him just there. That would have been a really bad time. And he misses this cutscene. Oh.
Man, this is so killer, right? The entrance into Moon Grotto with the 1-frame death and just having these tiny little swings of a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there for Dedew. Hopefully this isn't really going to get to him. He's going to be able to have a clean Ginso tree, because this early game was really impressive to see, so I'm sure he's going to be able to shake that off. But yeah, Trojandude is just one of the scariest people to run against. Like you said, he really makes use of that concept of the lead vantage really well. I had to do it at least once.
You had to do it?
Oh no.
Well, Trojan just during that particular exchange, he just navigated the first section against it really effectively. Dedew doing the same. That damage boost may even be intentional in Dedew's strats, but he also may just be used to taking it and knows how to handle it. So there was no real danger there. He immediately recovered, but it certainly looks scary.
Yeah, for sure. And so we're going to see how Trojan does on this mini-boss. You mentioned earlier during the Frankie fight that Dedew has really clean mashing on the controller, whereas Trojan is opting to pace out each one of his shots. So maybe if Dedew can save a cycle here, save a cycle there, be able to make up some of this deficit.
Yeah, it's looking like Trojan's getting about 7 shots a cycle, which is under the 8 that you need to be able to get 5 cycles, but still killing the boss pretty quickly. That looked like 6. So not really going to give a huge opportunity for Dedew, but Dedew's mashing is very solid here. You can see he's that looked like 8 and then maybe 7 on the next one. Yeah, he just missed a shot there, so that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it can be tricky. Like, when you time your first shot can also be important, because Sign was just opts to miss if it hasn't targeted on yet. And looks like Dedew taking another cycle there to be able to get through. No problem, just setting up his health, and then making a save in order to get 1 health back, because we want to sort of time our health out to be able to get through an intentional death, to be able to make it to Bash Tree. So Trojandude in first place right now, making it to Bash Tree first, as he heads into some really technical Bash move.
Yeah, he's right there, as you saw in the stat overlay, right there with his best race time so far, which, I mean, again, wow. We're going to say that word a couple times. Consistency. That's Trojandude for you. This is a clever manipulation of that first shot there to be able to use for this redirect puzzle. So pretty cool little trick by Trojan using double bashes. He likes to make creative use of double bashes. Sometimes it's not necessarily the fastest thing to do, but it's still very fast, and that is good enough. So he'll be beginning his key dupe with the save on the lower platform. We'll see whether or not Dedew is going to try for the higher one.
Yeah, we'll find out. Trojandude successfully getting a pretty quick key dupe using a specific bash angle in order to be able to slide in there, take an intentional death, and Dedew actually placing his save for the key dupe in a little higher location. This definitely is going to save him a couple of seconds going into this section after he takes this intentional death, and he gets a quick key dupe as well. Nicely done.
Yeah, he aimed his fall directly into that little nook where you are able to take the death from the spikes, but also still put the keystones in the door. That's what you need to be able to get the keystone duplication, so he was able to pull it off. Trojan obviously already got his and made his way through to the mini-boss, and Dedew will be following suit. They're very close right now, just separated by the length of 1 mini-boss. Dedew is just bearing down on Trojan. This is really impressive, and I will be really watching this swamp entry to see if there's any tiny mistake that allows Dedew a few more seconds of leeway, or possibly gives Trojan a few more seconds of lead.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane, and exactly what we needed out of Dedew here. We saw that he had some struggles right before entering Ginso Tree, but that Ginso was just solid, right? Like, he could have written a textbook with that. And so upcoming here for Trojandude, opting not to do the blind movement, is going to be working into swamp entry. Moving around this frog in these earlier bashes is going to be tricky, but look at that. Nice safety save, nice decision making, but oh, the frog was a little bit over. So Trojandude opting to double bash him to get through, and Dedew is working through the blind movement as well.
Yeah, actually, he opted to skip the blind movement. He went ahead and spawned the lasers. Trojan is double bashing his shot, and he opts to grab the ability cell on the way in. Dedew nearly, he does dunk his frog. He's going to have to take a death, and retry, and his save is not super far back, but it's back there. So Dedew's going to have to go again, and Trojan is already in, including the hyperspeed on his way into Swamp. So this is a really rough time for Dedew to lose these extra seconds there.
Yeah, here we go. Dedew absolutely needs to get this on the second try. He does the shot, looks in a good spot, and he baited the shot high enough, and he's confident on that, bashing off the frog before the shot had even hit the floor. Nicely done from Dedew in the water, but just taking a little bit of a bath before deciding to make it over to Stop Tree.
Oh boy, and Dedew having a little mismenu on that hyperspeed, and that actually costs all the time that the hyperspeed would have saved, just that little menuing flub, so it's pretty rough. That is a high five for the two runners, and they are meeting up briefly outside the Stomp Tree. Dedew on his way in, Trojan on his way out. He is going to be heading back to deal with our friend Ringo again, the frog from before, and use him to pick up an ability cell. And then you're going to notice that Trojan actually picked up an XP in a specific spot that he allowed him to skip entirely the cutscene trigger for this cutscene here, but now he's going to have to mess with it. What?
What? So apparently in the cutscene he is untangible with the laser. Is this going to be a good spot? It is! Whoa, look at that pool. That's so cool, dude. What a strat.
That is officially my favorite thing ever. Dedew taking an unfortunate death, stomping into the water out of Stomp. Trojan getting his Kuro cutscene skip, so he's just absolutely blazing a path through Nibel, and Dedew has to do everything he can to continue keeping up. But that cutscene skill was a really clever, or not skip, but that cutscene manipulation was a really clever new setup that Trojan had mentioned to us, but he didn't specify what it was. He just said, I have a different XP I'm getting today, and I have a setup for it that is very consistent. And I didn't understand what that meant until I saw what he actually did there, so that's really funny.
Yeah, it was awesome. Dedew taking a bit of a death, but he has a safety save right behind. Takes another hit, but that's okay. He's going to be doing his attempt on Kuro cutscene skip. And in order for Trojan not to make the lead advantage, yeah, he gets it. Nice. Dedew gets there, so being able to match pace with Trojan, but Trojan just like this is his strong suit, right? Well, just this constant pace of turning through the mid game, right? We think of him as more of a locomotive player, maybe a little bit slow on this start, but then his mid game and late game just start to become up in tempo and consistency as you head through. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure, Muffin. Again, the key is Trojan does not make major mistakes. He might make some small ones. He might flub one of his fast stompless shots and have to re-aim before going back to the cell. He'll just be like, oh, that shot wasn't good. I'll try another one. You might be able to save like 5 or 6 seconds that way compared to him, but he's not going to miss fast stompless. He is not going to miss Sorrow Bash. These things almost never happen with Trojan, and if they do, man, Dedew had better take advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we see that Dedew doing some semi-blind movement to be able to skip a cutscene there, and Trojandude is going to be heading up to one of these tricks known as Fast Stompless. But first he's going to bash on this bird's head to grab the ability, so nicely done, and then head over. So here he does have to line up a precise shot and then be able to get away from the shot quickly enough in order for it to be able to hit the rocks. But there, oh, the shot's a little low, but the angle looked okay, but he didn't like it. So this is what Vool was talking about. He just didn't like the shot, so he's going to head back and go for it again. And that one he was satisfied with. So we're going to see if that was good enough.
It looks to be good.
Nice.
The Trojan will be able to get his fast stompless, and had, as we had talked about, he had one shot that he just said, oh, that wasn't quite it. Re-aimed it. Trojan actually is an engineer, and he literally said to me one time that he basically does trigonometry on that shot live to figure out if it's aimed correctly, and so he knew that he was definitely missing. Dedew is coming back pretty well into the valley area and will be doing fast stompless, but he needs to get this immediately to save any time compared to Trojan. That setup looks good. That shot looks good. He is dashing back towards the cell, luring the spider shot, getting the bash up to the cell, and oh wow.
Oh. Yeah, just
unfortunate, Muffin.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Just a little bit of a miss-aim on the shot, or maybe not getting far enough away to despawn part of the level. But wow, Trojandude just already in Sorrow, just nailing Sorrow Bash, one of the bottleneck tricks out of the park. And each one of these tasty, tasty sun chips is instant death. But Dedew being able to nail the second shot on the back, still losing a little bit of time over compared to Trojan, so not what he was hoping for. And this is just going to further extend Trojan's lead as he is going to be heading to charge jump tree.
Yeah, and along the way, Trojan opted to drop a safety save. So you see he's not doing a ghost door here because he went ahead and dropped a safety save. That is the kind of thing that you'll see from Trojan in races because he would much rather waste a few seconds on not being able to do a ghost door rather than take a death in the spike cave area and have to go all the way back to the bottom, where Dedew is now heading up. And he's going to perform his Sorrow Bash. Looks like he intentionally damaged both birds with charge dashes, so he takes an intentional death to reset their health. Now he's going to begin his trick. Trojan's setting up Terror Break. Dedew gets the 2-bird manipulation. That looks like a good position. He's able to charge dash up and off the bird and in to Sorrow Pass. So great job by Dedew. He really needs to make no mistakes whatsoever to be able to keep up in this.
Yeah, and Dedew accidentally throwing off an extra rocket jump, so he's going to be down 1 energy. We're going to see how he decides to spend this. Yeah, instead of rocket jumping up, he's going to opt to just feather up, so he has that 1 energy. Let's see if he decides to play safety save. No, he's going to risk it for the biscuit. If he can get through this spiky
Holy crap.
Oh, the spikes! So close, maybe just tantalizing the raised lick there, but able to get through and lay down his ghost door.
Yeah, and he had some problems setting up a save anywhere on that as well. You know, when you're watching your opponents, sometimes it's really good because you know how far ahead or behind you are so you can make strategic decisions. Other times it's really bad because it just makes you more nervous. I'm not sure whether that's happening or not to Dedew. It's hard to tell sometimes, but kind of looks like it. Oh yeah, that really looks like it too.
Yeah, like some of these like wiggling inputs and missed bash angles, maybe unintentional death or jump here, but Trojandude out of Sorrow, being able to be the first one into Misty, and he is going to be able to just continue to work and churn through this section. And Misty is like one of those sections where it can be easy to take an unintentional death, but Trojan is just so comfortable with pacing himself and working through this section. And after he gets the next skill tree, I'm sure we'll be seeing some extra safety saves out of him.
I wouldn't be surprised to see one right here or in the near future from Trojan as well. But he is feeling very confident, as evidenced by his play. He's definitely, you know, just doing all of his strats very well. Dedew told us he was treating this basically like a PB attempt, so he's going to be going for all his strats in play and not really, you know, at least he was telling us, not really playing to make strategic types of decisions. So for example, not saving in the spike cave was more just a PB strat rather than, you know, oh, I'm behind Trojan, I can't do that. However, it also works in that regard if you think about it. Yeah, true Shay. Yeah, absolutely. And so now Dedew is working down. He does have Sunstone, so he is going to be matching Trojan by entering Misty soon. But it looks like Trojandude12 is going to be still in first place, the first to reach Climb Tree. This is quite the deficit that's starting to open up. Yeah, this is going to be very tough for Dedew to overcome. He is going to play as fast as he can, which is pretty fast. Dedew is no slouch at this late game, as you must be in order to get a time basically the same as Trojans. They're only 5 seconds apart, but you're going to see that Trojan is going to keep playing very effectively. He does not perform stomp cancels, the fast movement tech that you may see out of Dedew. He doesn't have his binds really set up to do that, and he's not comfortable with that. Instead, he's just going to play really fast using canceled dashes using the bash skill.
Yeah, I like this decision from Trojan because a lot of these movement optimizations with this technique known as stomp canceling doesn't really save too much time. But wow, look at that, Trojan taking a damage, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful, opting to not do a really tricky rocket jump. I like this, just going up the meatball shaft, nice and easy, and he's going to be able to make it up to the mini boss. Let's see if he drops the safety save though right before, because it can be easy to take a death.
Oh yeah,
he does. Oh, thank goodness.
And he, oh, wow, okay, he managed to recover the bang zoom quick kill there, just barely. That was pretty interesting. But that means the deficit is probably around 50 seconds to a minute as Dedew is beginning his work on the second half of Misty while Trojan has just finished up that mini boss. And you do see a safety save from Dedew. So that is very interesting. Unfortunately, he takes a death here, even though that safety save will save him a little bit of time. It's really just going to make it that much more difficult to catch up to Trojan.
Yeah, for sure. And like, as we know, Dedew's watching the restream, so he knows that this race is happening. He knows where Trojan is right now. So it's important for him to be able to get through all of these sections first try, to be able to match that pace with Trojan. And I hate to say this, but like, I'm guessing Dedew is kind of hoping for Trojan to make a mistake here. And like what we've been saying about Trojan is that's not something that's characteristic when we see him race. So we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of places for Trojandude to have a slight misstep as Dedew is working through these sections, though, and actually doing a really good job, Rula. He is definitely keeping pace.
Yeah, unfortunately having a little bit of spaghetti on that mini-boss, costing him a few seconds that he really couldn't afford, but he is not making major mistakes either, so he is able to progress through these sections very quickly. Unfortunately for him, the runway is running out. He's about to go off the end of it as Trojandude is picking up his final skill, Grenade, and he'll be making the trek to the final area, Mount Horu. Oh boy, that's not going to help.
Yo, nice adaptation from Dedew, though. Like, there, he just barely missed getting over to a platform, so he set up a really precise charge jump location and angle to be able to get up there. That's actually a lot more difficult than it seems. And Trojandude now getting past with the Yoga Laser Cycle and is going to be making his way to Horu Fields. There are not that many places left where Trojandude could have an unintentional death. Maybe one in Horu Fields, maybe some struggles with Door Warp and the final escape, but there's just no room for Dedew to be able to claw back in. It's so impressive to watch Trojan be able to keep this pace.
Yeah, and I would be really shocked if any of the last tricks were to cause any problems for Trojan. Long before any of us thought that Door Warp was something that was pretty reasonable to be consistent at, Trojan thought that it was a free trick because he can just get it first try every time when he needs to. He will stop to get this 6th health cell, which is part of his normal route too. It's not a safety strat. He just plays with 6 HP because, like, it's 4 seconds. Like, why take the risk? But he is fast approaching the Horu door as Dedew is picking up Grenade. That makes this deficit, again, about a minute or a minute 10, and it would take some very substantial madness for Trojan to, let Dedew back into this race now.
Yeah, 5 sure, Vul, because 4 is not a high enough number to agree with you enough. But that being said, Dedew being able to get through the lasers doesn't quite do the rocket jump on the Frankie, so he does have to wait for the laser cycle. No! Dedew taking a death at the laser and Trojan getting through Door Warp.
That was the first try Door Warp as promised. Trojan, as you see on the stats overlay, he again considers it a free trick. He is always able to pull it off. He's very consistent at that trick, as everything else in this game. So as Dedew is making his multiple trips out of the grenade tree, Trojan will be working on the final escape.
Yeah, Trojan really making a statement here with it's just the continued consistency, right? It's like easy for us as commentators to look at this and like build hype around like certain aspects of certain runners, but in Trojandude's case, it's completely true. It's just so impressive to see him 2 tournaments in a row to have this sort of like maddening consistency as he goes into this poison swimming section. There's one more trick for him to close out this victory.
That's right, and as you see, his success rate with grenade jump, it's a 50% success rate, but that's all right as long as he doesn't soft lock. So he needs a specific position here, aim at a specific angle, and press grenade and then jump on consecutive frames. He aims it, presses the buttons, and gets it first try, and that is going to be a mid-31 for him as Dedew, unfortunately, will be defeated as he makes his way to the Mount Horu door, just having a little bit too much spaghetti on Fastompoulos and this, these last couple sections.
Yeah, and that being said, that's like within 20 seconds of Trojan's PB, actually, it looks like. So that's going to be a really insane time for him. But that being said, Dedew is going to take a loss here, but he's not going to be eliminated from the tournament. So that being said, we're going to be able to see more action from him as he gets knocked down to the lower bracket. But Trojandude must be really excited to be taking the win here with a 31-29.
Beautiful run by Trojan, and yeah, I mean, being within 12 seconds of your PB.
Oh my god.
It's such a Trojandude thing, as Dedew also gets his first try door warp. Well done by him, and he'll be looking to finish up. He could still pull off a mid-33, which is no slouch of a time, but against Trojan, just wow.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you compete with that, Muffin?
I don't know, right? Like, what did you do? Like, he got one framed, and then he ended up missing fast stopless like once, and then just took some deaths in like in Misty and in the light grenade area, right? And that's it. That was the differential. And Trojandude just not making any major mistakes and coming within this margin of his PB. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean that's Trojan for you every time. You just. You know, we make fun of him sometimes because, you know, we're all good friends together in the Ori community, but we make fun of him for, as the dude pulling off the clean 5 HP swim there, and he'll go for his grenade warp. Grenade warp? Have I just invented a new trick? Is that what happened there?
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to find something new with grenade jump so I can just name it that. Yeah, and there we go, and did you line it up nice, and he gets it first try without a soft walk. Very impressive. GG from Dedew. He's going to be finishing with around a 33-30 something or another. So we'll get that time for you once he finishes holding right.
All right, and that was a first try grenade warp for Dedew, so well job by him.
Literally breaking the space-time continuum in this virtual reality game of Nibble Forest. Yeah, it looks like based on Quantal Entanglement from that grenade warp, he actually transformed Ori into Naru. And so Naru is going to be walking across, and time for Dedew. Looks like that was a 33-31. GG.
GG to both runners. The difference of, you know, the final difference of 2 minutes and 2 seconds almost completely misstates how close this race was in terms of the skill level of the runners. Dedew's real difference was between the fast stompless death, the swamp entry death. That was basically it. After that point, Trojan just ran away with it. The grenade deaths were pretty much like irrelevant at that point because it was out of reach.
Yeah, and then the one framer as well, and like bringing in that early advantage. But that being said, it looks like we have both of our runners in for an interview. Trojan GG and Dedew GG. How are you guys doing?
Yo, GG guys.
Thanks.
I'm doing pretty freaking great after that run. That was like that was the cleanest run I felt like I did all tournament long.
Yeah.
I mean, it was within 12 seconds of your PB, so yeah.
Yeah, that being said, Trojan, we know we've asked this before of you, but do you want to just like talk a bit about your like training process and mentality when it comes to speedrunning?
Yeah, so this doesn't just go for Ori, this goes for other stuff. I like I learn the most by doing, so when I continuously do runs over and over, that's for my brain, that's the best way for me to retain stuff, because then if I mess up and I continue doing it, you know, I continue on with the run, I can like learn, oh, I did better because I made that mistake, or like I just did that way. So that's generally like my mentality. It doesn't matter what speed run I do, it's my overall mentality.
Wow.
Well, it certainly served you very well here tonight, and has in the tournament as a whole. You've been able to take out the 24 and 25 seeds, Simon and Dedew. Dedew, of course, has also joined us. Dedew, GG on the run today. Obviously, probably not your overall goal to lose to Trojan, but you did have a solid run with only a few things to mar it against a ludicrously good run by Trojan. I just want to ask, you know, as far as your personal goals, you know, did you feel that you were able to at least live up to your own, you know, expectations in this race, or are you a bit, you know, are you leaving with kind of disappointed today?
Yeah, so the run wasn't awful. Like, I didn't have any big deaths or like any huge mistakes, but like those little mistakes, like here and there, like from like wall jump or even after the one frame at Grotto Cycle. It's like little mistakes here and there, little deaths, and that's how I lost like 2 minutes over Trojan. Like, playing against Mr. Consistency himself is hard.
Yeah.
Very, very true. I mean, what do you do? Because you know, you're now in the lower bracket. all three of you and Cheese Lover and Steinman are still alive in that bracket, which is like the terrifying top 4 group in this division, all of whom could effectively be top seeds. Like, what do you feel are your chances of winning your way back into the division finals there?
I mean, it's not impossible, but it will be difficult for sure. I need to continue practicing my consistency, which I've been doing like the entire time since last match. And it worked out against Cheese, and it didn't this time. I'll keep on working on it.
Yeah, and so sort of going off of that, Trojan, right? You have secured your spot for the division finals to be able to play one more match before that just sort of decides who goes on to the round of 8. Is there someone that you would like to play, or are there certain members in the lower bracket that you're sort of like, oh no, please, I don't want to have to face these?
As far as like not wanting to face people, I don't do that. I've been a competitor my whole life playing sports growing up. If I'm gonna, prove myself, I'd rather go against the best people. For the sake of just playing somebody different, it would be really cool to do that kind of best of 3 style with the one advantage against Cheese. Because his, Dedew upsetting him was like a big deal. And, it's very possible, honestly, that I could go up against any 3 of those guys. I would be totally fine with it.
I mean, that is very, very true and very underrated by the seed numbers that they, managed to achieve through the bracket because of, just group draws and stuff. But yeah, all 4 of you guys who started in the upper bracket in this particular division, any one of you could win the division. It's so silly. But Trojan, you were able to be the one to claim that first spot in the division finals. So congratulations for that. Just wow.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's really surreal because last year when I was going into it, based on my general leaderboard standing and how I was doing against other people, I felt like top 8 was my goal. And coming into this tournament with so much more incredible talent than there was last year, like essentially double it. I was like, okay, I'm cool with getting to top 16. I'll be content with that. If I actually do make the final bracket with best of 3, I will be elated over the moon. So I have 1 out of 2 chances to do that, which is pretty crazy, man.
Wow, and so sort of going off this, Dedew, do you have any goals before your next match? Are you going to try and continue to push for a better PB? I mean, like just recently, you're able to punch through that sub-32 door and clinch out such a huge PB. What are you looking to accomplish in the next week or 2?
Yeah, that PB felt so good. Like I've been stuck at 32 for so long. So yeah, I'm like PB is not really what I'm aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I was doing like no resets and races for fun and trying to not get bored of the game by tryharding too much. So yeah, my goal for now is to keep on working on my consistency and be able to get a consistent 31 because that's what I need to be able to win.
By the way, I just want to mention too, because I'm really close friends with Dedew. I've been watching his stream a bunch since he started his quote-unquote consistency program. This guy works freaking hard. It's no mistake that he got within 5 minutes or 5 seconds of my PB. Excuse me.
5 minutes of my
this
PB.
Guy. No, 5 seconds of my PB. Like this guy can play the freaking game, man. Like, and he is putting in the work to improve a ton.
Thanks.
Yeah. I couldn't have said anything better myself in word of praise of our incredible runners of this tournament, all of whom are putting in so much work. It's really something. But this is going to do it for this race. But don't worry, because we got 7 more for you coming up over the course of the day. We will be back in just a few minutes with the next one, which is the Steinman versus a Hunter's Pixel. That's going to be good times. Muffin, thank you so much for joining us for these first 2 races today. It was a pleasure commentating with you.
Yeah, man, I have so much fun, and like there's so many people also working behind the scenes, and they're going to be working hard for the rest of the day. So all of the upcoming matches, guys, are going to be featured on Speed Gaming too. But thanks for having me, Vua. I hope you guys enjoy the next couple of races.
Yep, stick around for about 15 minutes as we go to break, but we'll be back